Hey, this is Sarah Mertzlift, your microdosing wing woman. I got my first paying client as a result of going through CBD. I learned how to speak about my business in a way that worked for both me and my clients, and I am attracting soul-aligned people who don't even want to sign up for my email list. They just want my product. So it has been amazing.
Welcome to Unjaded. I'm your host, Vickie Dickson. This is a podcast with a human design spin on building the life, the relationships, and the business that you were made for. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Unjaded, or if this is your first time here, welcome here. You're going to have some fun today. My guest is Laurie Ann Murabito, and Laurie Ann is a speaking coach and also a student of the Content by Design course. I want to tell you a fun story about how we met. Laurie Ann and I have known each other about a year, and we traveled to Tribal last year. About this time, actually, last year, we were at Tribal, which was an in-person mastermind in Florida. And we just hit it off. And here we are a year later. We've been back and forth in each other's businesses and doing lots of fun stuff. And we take some of the same courses and hold each other accountable in all of the things to our business goals. So I'm really excited to chat with Laurie Ann today. And I'm going to give you just a brief overview of her human design. We're not going to really dive into her human design, but I want you to know who she is from that perspective. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about what led her to take Content by Design, how she's going to use what she learned in her speaking business and in creating content as she moves forward, and all that jazz. So Laurie Ann is a 4/6 emotional manifesting generator, and she has the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is the energy that we are moving into in 2027 and beyond. So welcome, Laurie Ann, to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
I know that was a lot.
And I remember at Tribal, when you ever introduced yourself and said that you were an expert in human design, I was like, oh, yay.
Because I think you were the only person there that had ever heard of human design before.
Yes,
out of 13 people.
I was. And I knew I knew that I was a manifesting generator. I didn't know so much that I was a 4/6 and some of the other things that I know now that I can speak off the top of my head when people ask. But, I was so excited that you were in the group.
And I want to just bring that around for our listeners for a little bit, just because there are a lot of people here who are in the human design space. And I know that I went to Tribal thinking that everyone in the world knew about human design and that it wasn't really so much of a big deal. And then I got into that room with everyone. And like I said, you were one of 13 people there. And you and I were the only two who knew about human design. And people were like gobsmacked by it, absolutely amazed. I would open my mouth and I would say something and they would be like, oh my God, tell me more. And I hear anyway that I'm a line 2 in my human design, which means that people have to tell me what I'm good at because I don't know. But I hear a lot that I'm able to simplify human design concepts so that people can understand them. And I guess my message for you here, if you're a human design practitioner, is that we always have to simplify it because not everyone knows human design. And we walk around thinking or acting like, speaking like everyone knows human design. And it's like code. I mean, it's all weird words like the cross of the sleeping phoenix. What the heck is that? Or manifesting generator. What the heck is that? So this is just a little shout out that has really nothing to do with the rest of the episode. Kind of though, because we talk about this in Content by Design. It's like simplify. How can you simplify your message? And that really needs to be done in the human design space. So back to what we're supposed to be talking about. Talk to me about your business.
Well, I am a reformed, painfully shy girl who accidentally became a professional speaker. And some years ago, I sort of stepped off the stage, although as a speaker, you never step off the stage. And today, I actually help coaches and consultants and service providers write and deliver amazing presentations that they use as their best form of marketing. It all happened by accident when somebody sent me a text saying, Laurie Ann, do you write speeches for people? And I had so much fun helping her, and it literally changed her business. She went from losing money to having a full practice.
Because you look at speaking not necessarily as something that you are looking for speaking gigs in order to get paid for. You look at speaking as the fastest way to grow your business. So how does someone grow their business through speaking?
Well, let's look at a speaking event. There's a speaker in the front of the room. They are considered to be the expert that somebody brought in. So let's just say this is some sort of an association or some sort of conference. And everybody who walks into that room has raised their hand to say, I'm interested in this topic. I'm willing to spend time here. I'm willing to buy a ticket. I have this problem. So everybody who's in your audience is a hot lead, essentially, or they know that they're going going to need your services or have this problem solved in the near future. So not everybody is ready to hire you right then and there. However, they may down the road. So you end up building that know, like, and trust instantly. Of course, one of the best ways to build that know, like, and trust is to just be outstanding on the stage. And we can talk a little bit more about that afterward, because we've all sat through presentations of a very boring person who it was just like you kept looking at your watch, hoping that the phone would ring or something, air quotes, an emergency, or an infomercial where somebody just talked, about like the reason why you need to buy their product or service or hire them, for an hour. That can be very tiring.
And that makes me think of the last interview that we did. So you actually appeared on The Pulse on Human Design, which is another podcast that I host. And I had to prod you to, hey, share your lead magnet. Hey, share your lead magnet. And then finally we stopped and I'm like, I'm trying to pave the way here. So you weren't coming in and being like, it's the me show and you have to work with me and all these things. And that's important because a lot of times on podcasts, that's what people do.
They do. They really do. And as a host of my own show, it's like I got to control the guest.
Okay. So what made you think about taking content by design? Because you help people write speeches. You write a lot of content. What made you think, hey, this sounds interesting to me?
Well, one, I'm fascinated with human design. And I'm also fascinated with how is my human design? How would that help me even more in my business? How could I tap into it to even write freer and more open and honest? And so those were a couple of the reasons. But also the way to become a better speaker, and I'm always fine-tuning my craft, is to write better. And you write better by reading and speaking with other people. So it's a lovely domino effect. So me learning to write better is always going to make me speak better. And so that's actually one of the first homework assignments that I give clients that I work with is to start writing. Even if you just have one of those calendars that's like the motivational quote of the day, put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, and just share your thoughts about it. And every once in a while, disagree with it, even though they're probably some of the motivational quotes are a little hard to disagree with, but disagree with it just so that you practice writing persuasively from a different point of view. Because what you're doing is you're just trying to open up the audience to thinking or seeing something differently.
And that's a great tip about the better you write, the better you'll speak. In Content by Design, the very first thing we do, I think it's actually a bonus that's released even before we start in the course, is that I get you journaling because it's such an important practice to get into. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, Vickie, I am not ever journaling. I don't want somebody to find it. I don't want it. You can burn your journal. I don't care if you burn the words after you write them. But journaling is such an important practice. Julia Cameron, what is her book? Now it's completely gone from me. But Julia Cameron, if you look her up, she has so many books. She's a projector, actually, which is a fun fact. And she has written, I think it's close to 60 books. But her premise that she stands on is that you have to basically clean the pipes. So every day you get up and you write 3 long form pages because it actually makes space for your creativity. And for you, it's making space for how am I going to speak this? When I can write it, I can speak it. So that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. And I struggle doing my 3 pages a day, but it's a new habit. That's what it is. It's about developing that habit. And I remember you talking about that in the very beginning of the program and how you'd been doing this for a decade or over a decade. And I was like, wow, that is, no wonder why you're such a great writer. You're constantly practicing.
Yeah. But honing the craft, like you said, it's honing the craft. Whatever your craft is, it's honing it. It takes time. Yes. You got to put in the 1,000 or the 10,000 hours.
Absolutely. So get started today.
Yeah. And I love that you said you were looking to be, or it made you a freer writer. Write more freely. And I think that lots of times, or what I observe is that lots of times people sit down to create content and it is a job, but you can have fun creating content. You can be free in your writing. And I think that understanding how to leverage the gifts in your human design makes you able to stand in that freedom when you can look at, oh, this is how I communicate. This is the message that I'm here to share. This is the role that I'm here to play for people. This is who I'm actually crafting my message for. Then how freeing is that? It just makes more sense that would be easier to write.
It is. And also a little intimidating, I will add, to be honest, because I'm here to talk to leaders. And so for me, it was just it was little old me. I'm here to talk to those people. So it can also be very freeing, but also it's time to embrace who you're here to speak to, the message that you're here to share. the impact that you're going to have on the world. It's a process of just stepping more and more into it. And that's something that I found, like I literally took a big gulp when you read that part of my design during the program, which was like, I am okay.
Yeah,
but I can also see how impactful that can be too. Me speaking to those people, because then they will be speaking to their audience. And it's a beautiful, beautiful domino effect.
Yeah. And if you're not speaking to the visionary leaders, like who's taking the stage, right?
Exactly.
So was there anything you signed up for Content by Design, and it's about human design and creating content. And lots of times this is like a roundabout the way question, but lots of times people think, oh, it's only for social media and I don't want to focus on social media. But like Content by Design is really everything. We talk about blogs. This time we did a lot on welcome sequences, podcast episodes. Like it's anything that you have to write to create something in your business, which is basically everything. So there is a question in here, and that is, was there anything that surprised you coming in? You knew it was about content writing and human design. Did anything kind of surprise you as we went along?
Well, when I think of writing, I think of all forms of writing. Like, how can I be writing for social media, but also my emails? And we'll definitely talk about like how my emails have changed, along with, like long form content, blogs, my podcasts, show notes. I think a lot of times we, as coaches, as service providers, we need to write something for our audience. And I think too many times we're not being the leader. We're putting ourselves in the audience, and it's like, oh, what can I write everybody's gonna like? We're going too much for the hearts, the thumbs up, the comments, instead of saying the thing that people need to hear. And just yesterday, I shared something from America's Got Talent, and it was a short video, somebody who dared to get up on stage. And he was a one-legged dancer. And I was like so touched by this. And so I'm sharing it with my audience on Facebook. And I didn't just say, hey, watch this. It was like, too many of us out there are complaining about things that aren't working out, that the cards haven't lined up for us. I mean, I was just so admired by this guy who was like, he had cancer. And so they had to amputate one of his legs when he was a small child. Did you think that stopped him? It didn't. I mean, it was absolutely breathtaking. But my post was very like, I'm going to hit you between the eyes.
It's coming. If you're tired of being a slave to the algorithm, and you're really ready to claim your place in the online space, then this message is for you. I'm getting ready to launch another live round of the Content by Design course, where you learn to leverage your human design so that you can create content that draws your ideal clients to you with ease, without feeling yucky or salesy, and definitely without being a slave to the algorithm. We work on blog posts and email sequences and podcast episodes and social media posts and all of the things. Because no matter what you're creating, it needs to come from who you are here to be, what you're here to say, how you're here to say it, and who you're here to say it to. Get on the wait list. The link is in the show notes for you.
Like, look at your own life and what excuses are you living with? So I think that's part of what has also come out from taking your program. And like, that's very freeing to be able to speak in that manner. And I don't worry about if anybody commented. I'm just sharing what I'm here to share.
I think that's beautiful. I feel that in my body when you say that. I'm sharing what I'm here to share. And like you said, so many people are not. They're focused on, and that's the thing that I get. I mean, I understand that templates and frameworks and systems and all of those things are very, very important, but there can be such a habit, I guess. We fall into a habit of just following this influencer or that account, or do what they do, and then they'll teach you how to do this. And none of it starts with who you are. It's all starting with things on the outside of you. Whereas when you look at your human design, you're starting with, who am I here to be? What impact am I here to have? And who am I here to impact specifically? And then we can say, okay, well, this is what they need to hear. But more importantly, this is what I need to say, because we've all swallowed our words for way too long. I mean, the witch wound is real. You know, the thing, and this happened with you in the course, actually, the thing that you most needed to say. I can't even remember what week it was, but I remember it happening and you're like, oh, and it was just like hands around your throat with the thing that you knew needed to be said. And that's what's stepping in your human design free.
And just to share with people about that story, I was perusing in a Facebook group and I saw a comment. Somebody was looking for feedback. And there I am. I'm typing my honest feedback. And then I went delete, 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 delete. And I was like, no, I really need to say this. And I type it out again. I delete, delete. Look. Like I had to talk myself into like, it's okay. Like this is really good practice. And so that particular teaching moment, when I want to hit the delete button, that's when I need to not hit the delete button unless I'm making correcting a spelling error. But about the emails, my emails, I will admit, were so boring. So boring. Okay. And there was an email, and you're on my email list, and I sent you an email, and you sent me a message back. Can we talk about this in content by design? Because I've got strong shoulders. Like I love honest feedback, and you were like, "Yeah, this email just doesn't work." You explained why, and what was funny, hearing you read it out loud, I was like, "Ooh, that's so confusing." Like something as simple as read your emails out loud, and like, what do you really like? What is the meaning of this one email? You don't have to have 10 different things, 10 different stories. Just tell a story. What's the lesson that you want people to walk away with? That was very big. And I would also say, like, I've taken from copywriters, like 2 different find your branding voice type programs. I've never learned anything from them, because it's like about coming up with this sheet, and then you can give your sheet to your people so that they understand, like, these are the words that I always say, like I love to say to women, like, hello, gorgeous. So that would be like on that sheet, but that doesn't get down to the nitty gritty about my thought leadership. So honestly, content by design is something that I wish that I had run into a long time ago. I just feel like I would have been able to have been saying what I needed to say to people, because at the end of the day, I am trying to sell something that is scary to people.
Very true.
But it's also very freeing to get up there and share your thought leadership and care for and serve an audience more so than just sitting in the back and thinking, wish I could get up there in front of that room. Like, I'm here to inspire those people that you can get up there. Not just because I did it, it's because you need to be sharing your thought leadership with other people. So I do wish that I'd run into you and content by design years ago.
Me too. Not just content by design, but think of all the fun we could have had.
Yes.
Our little yearly trips. And
getting into a little trouble.
yeah, just a little bit. I think that's profound what you're speaking about, because I think that, maybe if you're listening to this now, you had that little fluttering in your belly where it was like, oh gosh, I'm that person. I sit at the back of the room and I wish I was on that stage. Even though I'm terrified, I know that I need to be on that stage. So you're right about helping people with such a scary thing, but you do it in a non-scary way. Like you really do help people work through the fear of it. And I think just understanding that we don't have to think of just a stage as a stage. Like you really have done a lot of work around redefining stages for your clients. Can you talk about what different stages we could be focusing on?
Oh, yes. What we're doing right now is me speaking on your stage. You have a podcast, I have a podcast. Like, that's my stage that I own. My Instagram account, that's another platform, another stage that I speak from if I choose to have a live stream show. So it's so much more than just holding a microphone in front of that in person. You step up to the stage, walk up to the podium. It's so much more than just that and Zoom. It can be sharing your expertise in a mastermind. There are, here in the United States, 225,000 different associations and professional trade groups. Those 225,000, they've got chapters and sometimes multiple chapters in each state. They're constantly looking for speakers, and there's literally an association for everything. One of my clients speaks in the real estate industry, and I said, I'm going to take a picture because I have this book of all the different associations. It's no longer in print. However, I said, I will take a picture. There was 124 different associations in the real estate industry. And I said to him, just imagine, you can just pick like a couple of states and you could be speaking in all of those associations and you would never repeat yourself, going from state to state, regional meetings to regional meetings. So there's so much opportunity that's out there. But speaking in masterminds and speaking here on your podcast, that's not part of the 225. So start looking at stages very differently. Just notice who you're watching. Just keep your eyes open to all these different types of stages, whether you're speaking to one person or many people at once. Because I believe that even speaking to one person, like a sales call, or getting to know somebody on a coffee chat, or meeting somebody in person at a networking event, that's a form of speaking. And if you look at that as like, hey, this is a chance for me to practice my public speaking skills, when you get up in front of bigger audiences, it's going to come so much easier.
You don't know that we're going to be talking about this, but I'm going to surprise you with this. And you're a manifesting generator, so you can just totally run with it.
Yes.
So we were at PodFest together in January, and PodFest is a podcasting conference, and there are tons of guest speakers. And one of the guest speakers there, his strategy is he doesn't have his own podcast. His strategy is to guest on other people's podcasts. And I think he said he does, I think it was like 150 a year or something like that, where he guests. And I think guesting on other people's podcasts is a really great strategy, and it needs to be done well, because I know you and I have both had the experience where we've had people come in and they're really not a great guest, and they don't promote the episode with us and all of those things. And you've created this product that people can purchase and just learn how to be a good podcast guest, because podcasting is so big, and people so often think, oh, I'm basically going to save your show. I'm going to come on and I'm just going to, do you a favor and be on your show. And then, pardon my language, but they're really shitty sometimes.
Yeah.
And so if you would like to start getting on stages and you think podcasting would be good, Laurie Ann, can you talk about the offer that I'm talking about that you have? Yeah. Sorry.
It's called How to Be a Great Guest. And How to Be a Great Guest takes you through, I created this product with a friend of mine, Steve Gamlin, and we have 7 different phases of being a great guest. Everything from doing your research, knowing what lane you're in, to pitching them, to what do you do before the show, while you're on the show, and more importantly, what do you do after the show, so that you become the sort of guest that people rave about, remember, and want to refer to other podcast hosts, but also love the idea of maybe bringing you back. Because why not? Steve told me about, he tells a story about how he has been on somebody's podcast like 9 times. The guy's like, hey, it's been a while. What's new that you're talking about? Let's have you come back on the show. But that only happens if you're a good guest. I know that myself, I've had a number of people that it wasn't a good recording. They weren't prepared. And I have to think about who am I putting in front of my audience. So if you want to be a great guest, definitely go to How to Be a Great Guest. We'll share that link with you down below in the show notes.
And then I think another thing that goes into being a good guest, being a good speaker, being a good promoter of your own business, all of the things, is really understanding who you're here to be, which comes back to your human design, really getting in touch with your human design and leveraging it. So many times in the human design space, and if you've listened to me on this podcast before, then you know this is like a bone of contention for me. But people will be like, oh, my open head, I just do this. Or, oh, that's my open will. Or, oh, well, I'm a projector, so I need to sleep all the time. And all of these excuses that we make, it's like, how about we stand in the power in our human design? And then we can show up fully, no matter what we're doing, no matter if we're speaking on our own stage, if we're on an Instagram Live, if we're on a Facebook, we know what to say, which is really, really important, and how we're here to say it, because we all speak or are designed to speak in a very different tone. And when we get the tone wrong, we can't attract the people that we're here to attract. And I think we've all had that experience of having the wrong people in our offers. And that makes it a lot harder. It makes us burn out if we are attracting the wrong people. You just know that something is off. You're not having the impact you're here to have, and you're working really, really, really hard, and nobody's getting what you're talking about. So if that's happening to you, then you're probably ready to step into your human design a little bit more, I would say.
Yes, and learn how to speak with confidence. And you learn how to speak with confidence when you learn how to write, and you write really well when you practice that and you speak with other people, and also read. And the reason why I pick reading is because you get to see how other people put words together.
Mm-hmm.
Like what sentences just stick out to you. And it's like, wow, I love how they painted this picture. Reading stories is going to make you a better storyteller. Writing stories is going to make you a better storyteller. So it all just kind of comes back to content by design and learning how to tap into your own human design and writing from there, because it'll become so much easier. And then you're attracting the people that you're here to be working with.
Which is
bonus.
the chef's kiss on your work. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you were to choose someone who should take human design, what would you say?
Is everybody an option? Okay. If I had to, the sort of person, if you know you're here to do what you are currently here to do, but you feel like you're on the treadmill to nowhere, like it's just doesn't feel like it's working. I'm doing all the things, air quotes, that the influencers or coaches say to do, but it's still not working. Then I would say, like, let's go back to basics and let's tap into your human design and also learn the writing, because that writing is going to make you a better speaker, so that when you're doing like an IG live or an IG story where you're explaining something, you're going to explain it so much more eloquently because you've mastered and you're learning this craft of writing.
Yeah. And I would say not only eloquently, but I think effortlessly. So not at first, it's going to take some practice, but I can honestly say that I go, and I'm not a speaker. I mean, I'm speaking, but I'm not a professional speaker. And I can go on my IG stories and I know exactly who I'm speaking with, and I'm speaking with them, not to them. And I can just like bang out a quick little mini training or bang out an answer to a question or something like that. And it's so much easier. It's effortless when you actually, and you just feel like, oh, okay, this is just how I do it. It's like, you're not worried about who's judging you, or is your mom seeing it, or is your sister-in-law seeing it, or is your friend from grade 8 seeing it, or your bully from grade 8 seeing it? Like, none of it matters, because it's just like, okay, we're doing this now, because you're confident. You understand who you're here to be.
And that is so freeing.
Yeah.
So just like, here's who I am, like it or not, but we don't have to be liked by everybody. We just need to be liked by the right people.
Yeah. In fact, I would say we should not be liked by everybody. When you're standing in your human design, you'll actually turn some people off as well, which is okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not for everybody.
So permission to not speak to everybody.
Okay. Well, where can people find you? Let's talk about where people can find you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. They can find me over on my website, which is speakandstandout.com. From there, you can find my podcast, which is called Be in Demand. And I am most active on Instagram and also LinkedIn. And so those links to those social media sites are on my website. And if you are wondering, like, where do I get started speaking? I have a directory of places to speak, which is a curated list of over 60 different organizations that regularly hire speakers, pull-in speakers and book speakers for their members. And that is divided up into 6 different industries, from like healthcare to insurance to civics, to make it so much easier for you to find the right places to be speaking. And I would just say, get out there and start sharing your message. The world needs to hear from you.
And I will put the link in the show notes for that guide as well, correct? You'll send along that? Okay, perfect. So that'll be in the show notes for you. And if you're curious about content by design, and when you know that that's the next step for you, I will have the link to the wait list in the show notes for you. There is still a wait list, probably. At the time of this recording, there's still a wait list. Because I'm being very manifesting generator about this, and allowing myself to be in complete response for the timing of this. But sometime in the fall, we will be starting our next round of Content by Design. And if you want to be the first to hear about it, you got to get on that wait list. So that link will be in the show notes for you as well. So thank you, Laurie Ann, for being here. I appreciate you.
This was fun. It's a lot of fun for me.